I am Lawrence Chuno, and this is Doing Jazz. Hello everyone and welcome to Doing Jazz. My name is Lawrence Chuno and this episode is with guitarist and composer Cameron Mizell. Cameron's sound is eclectic, diverse and wide-ranging. He has till date released 6 highly reviewed albums and has collaborated with numerous other artists and groups. In addition to being a prolific musician, Cameron also manages the music label Destiny Records. My conversation with Cameron focused mainly on his latest release titled Memory Imagination, which was inspired by the 2016 US presidential election. Memory Imagination exhibits Cameron's forte for penning compositions that evoke visceral reactions without the use of words. The song playing in the background is the title track of the album. During my conversation with Cameron, you'll hear the songs A Turning Point and The Wind Won't Blow Us Away. At the end of our conversation, you'll hear the song Melting. These songs are all from the album Memory Imagination by Cameron Mizell. After listening to this episode, you can learn more about Cameron by going to the website of the show, www.doingjazz.net, and you can listen to more episodes of Doing Jazz by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, and any of the available podcast vendors. While on iTunes, please rate the show, leave a comment, and share the show with your loved ones. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I present Cameron Mizell in your face. Cameron Mizell, welcome to Doing Jazz.
Thanks for having me.
I was going through our conversation and you talked about your band performing more lately.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really, this past year I've actually been doing a variety of different types of things when it comes to playing my music. I play in other groups and do all kinds of music, but when it comes to mine, I've been trying different things, using different players. Just it kind of brings out a different element of your music when you do that.
So usually what kind of instruments do you have in each performance, and what other aspects do you have?
Well, a lot of my music is written for guitar, organ, and drums.
Okay.
So I write music that, the keyboard will play a specific role melodically in the right hand, and then, playing the bass line in the left hand or feet or whatever. But I've been doing more stuff that I've been trying to write music that could really be played with any instrumentation. I mean, just write tunes as opposed to write music that is specifically arranged for an ensemble. And in that sense, I can play the music as a solo guitarist. I can play it, duets with a bass player or piano player. Sometimes I get together and just play with a drummer. So there's no other harmonic instruments.
Yeah, I was as I was going through our conversation again, our email conversation, you mentioned that you were trying your best to bring people out, and that's something that I struggle with. That's something a lot of musicians, up and coming musicians who are not like independent musicians in general, struggle with. How have you been doing in terms of what can you say about that? You don't have to restrict it to yourself. You can just...
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. There's so much music that happens every night. And then there's also Netflix, and reasons for people to stay home. You know, what I think that one of the struggles when it comes to playing my own music is it's very much music that appeals to musicians, other musicians, and you know, most of my friends are musicians.
Yeah.
You know, and so if I'm playing, it's funny because like all the reasons why I can't make it to my friends' gigs, I'm teaching or I've got a rehearsal or I'm playing myself, if I got my own gig, are the reasons why people can't make it to mine, you know?
True.
And we all try to do the best we can, you know, making out to each other's shows, but you know, there's always that struggle with trying to book shows that your friends can make it to, and then also trying to book shows that there might just be some public there that, you know, random people that will hear your music and like it. And, you know, I've found that, I mean, it really boils down to just reciprocating.
True.
You know, you make it to your friends' events.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be, a show or just they have a dinner get together or something, you know, and then they're more likely to try to make it out to your
and
stuff.
that way maybe their friends, or they could bring their friends and maybe expand your network. Yeah. But you also have some regular gigs like around this area. This is Uptown Manhattan, very close to the Bronx, to the Riverdale area of the Bronx. You told me that you play in Riverdale. Yeah, I want to guess. I want to guess the venue where you play.
Go ahead.
Anvil Bucked, is it? No.
No.
Oh,
no.
I thought I nailed it.
Yeah, no. I play at. Well, every Friday I'm playing at this place called Yucca.
Yucca, okay.
Yeah, Yucca Latin Bistro, which has been open for about a year now.
What street?
It's on Riverdale Avenue.
Riverdale?
Like 259.
Okay.
And that gig is with a group of Dominican musicians.
I see.
I kind of got connected to them with them about 7 years ago. And you know how it is when you play in one scene, people start to get to know you, and then more people, like the more people that see you, other musicians see you playing, and if you're doing a good job, then they might call you. And so I've been around in that scene long enough to where I have, I think, a reputation of, you know, having my shit together. And so I get a lot of calls, and I'm very fortunate that every Friday and pretty much every Saturday I'm playing, and that translates into other gigs also. You know, we'll do private gigs and we'll do whatever, but a lot of the places where we play, I mean, I've played in, you know, within a few blocks from here, a number of times here in Inwood. I used to have a Friday gig over on Broadway at 204th Street.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that for the last, you know, 5 years, I've had a regular gig on Friday night with this band. You know, it's essentially a cover band, but it's the music ranges from classic rock to bachata and merengue and 90s rock, pop, whatever. You know, it's we do a lot of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I the venue I mentioned is an Irish pub venue, and they have usually they have a lot of solo guitarists. I know exactly where that is.
You
know that place?
Okay. I play around the corner from there at a place called Teen Marine. In fact, I'll be there this weekend.
Okay.
It's funny because that's kind of I think somebody who would look at me would assume that I'm going to play there. Yeah, no.
You know. I was going more from the guitar.
Sure, for sure. Yeah.
Guitar solo.
But no, I'm the gringo in the
Dominican
scene.
Community.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Let's talk about your music. Your latest album. It's called Memory and Imagination, right?
It's Memory Imagination.
Memory Imagination. Okay. And you've mentioned, you were telling me about the inspiration behind the album or the theme of the album. how about you talk about?
Sure. Yeah, it was an interesting sort of situation because I didn't mean to make an album. The November 9th, 2016, we all woke up to the news that Donald Trump was going to be our next president. And my wife works in social justice issues. She does research. And so, I mean, I care a lot about all of this stuff as well, but from a sort of, I'm like on the periphery of people who really do a lot of important work.
Okay.
And so during the campaign, I had been creating a list of issues that I've talked about with friends or that were in the news a lot, or things that I've just been thinking about. And with the idea that I need to look at this list and think about these issues so that when I have a conversation with somebody who has a differing opinion, I have a well thought out argument, or not even necessarily an argument, but just really understand why I feel that way.
Yeah.
So when I woke up the day after the election, I didn't really know what to do with myself. And so, well, I'll play guitar.
Yeah.
And
how did you feel?
I mean,
I remember that day clearly for me.
Yeah. I mean, I woke up, my wife was laying next to me crying in bed because she was looking at the news, and I don't think we really spoke to each other very much that morning. Everybody just kind of got ready in silence. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
There was a awareness that as a white man that is, despite what people might say about me, I think I'm decently smart and, capable to do whatever. I feel like I don't have as much to worry about, but all of these people that I care about, and in general, the idea of being compassionate, and trying to do what's best for other people over what's best for myself, that I just trying to keep that, it's something I always try to work towards in my life,
try to be conscious.
Yeah, exactly. And so I had to be, okay, I've got to be aware of everything much more now than in the past. Yeah. Because I think a lot of these people, they're going to try to take away from other people. And so I ended up sitting there looking at this list, thinking about these things and playing guitar and just improvising. And I happened to have my microphones set up to record because I had been doing some recording in the days prior. Yeah. So I just hit record and just played. And, you can hear pedals clicking and you can hear
You did this noise. At home?
At home, yeah. You can, you can hear sort of amp noise, and it was not really recorded with trying to make the most superb sound quality possible. It literally is just me sitting at home making stuff up. And when I improvise, I tried to improvise, like write a song on the spot. I tried to do something that was an idea, a complete idea. And it always reflects, each thing reflected something on that list of social justice causes. So, be it, climate change or women's reproductive rights or immigration.
Yeah. So that was what I was going to come to. None of the songs have lyrics.
Right.
And you were going for a message. I'm thinking it's more of a phenomenological approach to it. It's like you want to put out something and let people react to it how they want to react to it.
Right.
And but you give them some names. You have names for each of the songs. I'm interested in how those names come to be, and we can pick any of the songs. The one that really spoke to me, that I kept coming back to, is A Turning Point. Another one is Melting. Can you talk about any of these songs, any song in the album, one, and maybe talk about how the name came to become what it is, how you got to that feeling, that allow you to give it
Well, first of all, I've got a list on my phone of song titles because I get ideas, and sometimes it's like, okay, let me just write that down, and if I ever write a song that fits that, or sometimes I look at that list and write a song to try to go off of that. So that wasn't so much the case on this album, but I do think that if you're writing or playing or whatever instrumental music, it's like you have one lyric that you have to write. You know what I mean? And that represents so much. So in this case, though, the two that you mentioned, Melting was about climate change. So I was just picturing, for all of these improvisations, I was picturing some scene or event, something happening, and then kind of underscoring it. You know what I mean? So I was imagining a very specific scene happening, and then trying to make the music that would go along with it.
Trying to like paint it.
Exactly. No, and there's actually a series of videos. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos. And that's me.
Talk about that,
we'll talk about that later. But so Melting, that's a pretty obvious. A Turning Point. That one was sort of like a protest song, and I wrote. I wanted to play something with a steady time feel, because a lot of it is very rubato, right? And that one has I think of it kind of as like marching, right? And it builds this idea. The marching kind of builds, and then these sorts of things, there will be chants and things that people do in unison, and I was just trying to make like a musical. Scenario like that.
Sorry, I was going through my phone.
There's
another song I remember, another one I remember that I can't remember the name. I have I think it's called The Wind Will Not Blow Us Away, something like that.
The wind will never blow us out.
Okay,
that one I was thinking about persistence.
Okay.
I went to the Whitney Museum recently, and they have a whole exhibit on protest art. And this happened after I recorded the album, but it spoke to me in a way, because looking at all this protest, I mean, some of it's protest art from the Vietnam War or from other events, and it's like, man, I don't know if anything has really changed or gotten better or gotten worse, but man, people just don't give up. You know what I mean? Like there will always be somebody standing up for what's right. And I see that in my wife, and in people who she works with, and in other other people. Obviously there are leaders out there who are very inspiring, but just in my everyday life, been able to be around people who really fight the good fight.
one of the things I was thinking about is we live in a society in America. We are very comfortable to the point that people can afford to not talk about politics, or can afford to ascribe anything they feel like ascribing to politics. They can afford to just call anything politics. If you mention something as simple as not as simple, not that word, as clear as police brutality, if you protest it or if you speak out against it, people would say, oh, why are you getting political? Meanwhile, you're just talking about wrong and right,
right.
Being human, standing up for our humanity. So my question to you is, I don't know how to say this without, I'm going to be direct.
Sure,
okay?
yeah, please.
Being a white guy, right? I'm sure you have people in your circle of friends and in your family on both sides. You have at least one person on the other side of maybe a Trump supporter, whom might not be comfortable with your approach or with what the stance you're taking, and how are you able to delve into this kind of work and be very bold about it and be able to ignore those friends or those relatives who are on the other side?
Well, to go back to the beginning of what you're saying, when we talk about politics, I think people and things being political, I think people don't realize what politics means, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Politics is really about negotiating, mm-hmm. and a lot of times it has to do with having some leverage through being able to return a favor or whatever. Like every time you do something in your life where mm-hmm. you're asking something of somebody, and then they're gonna at some point kind of do something for you in return, mm-hmm. that's really kind of like just the politics of whatever, you know. And the thing with American politics, and I think every political system everywhere, it's ultimately the purpose of it is to find what's best for everybody.
Yes.
And they're just different ideas of how to accomplish that. I think that with a lot of the people in my life who might disagree with me on certain issues, mm-hmm. I think that they're still generally kind, caring people. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. Yeah. We all want the world to be a better place. Mm-hmm. I think that if somebody, I'm also from St. Louis, mm-hmm. Which is, when you talk about police brutality, it really sparked that's where the Black Lives Matter movement was really sparked. Yep. And so I have a lot of friends back there who are in a very, I think it's more turbulent in a way. Mm-hmm. You see more institutionalized racism, mm-hmm. Like the effects of it, more so than in New York. There's definitely plenty of that, but it's we have this weird way of, and here, I mean, people have to interact with each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're African. Yeah. I'm from the Midwest, and we're in Inwood. We're surrounded by
Dominicans.
Dominicans and and Irish people. And like, there's all kinds of stuff all around. You can't, mm-hmm. you just can't walk on the street without mm-hmm. running into people and hearing other languages. Yeah. There's segregation that's a little bit more obvious, I think, in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, when I talk to people who when they realize that, no, when they're around people that are different from them, they actually do want them to have the same opportunities.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you to an extent.
Sure.
But I want to continue this line of conversation until and then for a while, and then we can come back to your music. What do you do when somebody agrees with something you know is wrong? You are convinced is wrong. Like for me, when it comes to the DACA issue, I don't think it should be discussed. You're familiar with it, right?
Of course.
I don't know why we should even have an argument about about maybe whether to deport these people who have been here since they were kids. Like I don't think there should be an argument. Right. And anybody that says, "Oh, okay, maybe they should deport them," I don't even want to talk to that person anymore. Sure. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's tricky.
When you know something is totally wrong and somebody is standing there, saying that this is what should be done.
Being a white man, there have definitely been circumstances where some stranger might assume that I agree with them, and they'll say something to me that I completely disagree with, and I think that they're being very ignorant, and I try to assert myself and in a way that just says, "Yeah, I just disagree with you." You shouldn't assume that everybody feels that way. Yeah. But I try not to get into an argument with strangers. No, look, there are things that absolutely piss me off, and I just have a really hard time speaking with people about certain issues. Yeah. But there are issues that I think I know enough about to where I can discuss in very matter of fact sort of terms. Some people just believe things that are not true. They think like if you think that people are gay because they choose to be gay, and so therefore they shouldn't get married because I think that really that there's a lot of fear and hate. The thing about art is that it makes us experience the world through somebody else's shoes a little bit. And the more you do that, the more you begin to empathize with them. So when I see people who just think that homosexuality is a choice, or immigrants just need to go away, or something like I think that they've never tried to think about the world through the how what would it be like to be a black person? What would it be like to be an immigrant that came here illegally as a child, or if you're a homosexual or transgender person,
or even if you're a man, what would it be like being a woman? Because there's some tangible things that are just different, and that women have a disadvantage on. Things as simple as walking around in the night.
Seriously.
Just going out in your neighborhood and walking around in the night. If you talk to women, you see that they approach that very methodically. Like if a woman has to go out in the night, they think about it. It's something that they plan.
I had a conversation with a friend who lives in Atlanta. Yeah. Who was like, man, he was walking someplace at night and just happened to be behind a woman who was going in the same direction that he was. And he was like, this has to happen to you all the time. How do you deal with it? Yeah. And it does. And the thing is, I get off the train sometimes and I'll be 20 paces behind a woman who happens to make the the first couple turns that I have to make.
Mm-hmm.
So I just put my phone to my head and act like I'm talking to my wife.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm just around the corner, hon. I'm almost home. Just got to turn on,
So that's very interesting because I do that. And I thought I was doing it because as a black guy, I had to do it. I didn't know a white guys do it too.
Well,
I cross the road. I just walk on the other side of the road and make sure the person sees me.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Like, but it's, I mean, I can only imagine what it would be like to be a woman and have to, I go about life like I rarely feel, in danger.
Yeah.
I never have to think about my safety. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm, in the Bronx or in places where supposedly it's, more dangerous, or at least that's sort of the stereotype.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, it's not. And, if you get to know people,
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the election a little bit, and then we can transition back to your music. What do you think is the effect of Donald Trump's presidency, and how much damage do you think it will do to our country?
Yeah, man, that's tough because I think that the biggest role of the president is to represent the people of the United States to the world, and represent the ideals of the people. You know what I mean? Ought to reflect.
Yeah.
And the even if you disagree with them, like George Bush,
yeah, a classic example.
Disagreed with pretty much everything, but at least he wasn't a complete fool on the. You know what I mean?
When he comes out, that he's there to represent us.
Exactly.
That's what I feel.
He at least recognized that, that's what he was doing. Obama, I thought like Obama's strength was probably his being so personable and being able to really have he could have a conversation with anybody. He could have a conversation with some of the greatest world leaders and also have a conversation with little kids. Yep. And he just, you know what I mean? And then we have Donald Trump, who can't even complete a sentence. It really bothers me. When we had George Bush as president, my wife and I got to be friends with a woman from France who came over for an internship. And when she first came over, she had a very specific idea of what Americans were like because we had elected George Bush. And she was, she thought we were all a bunch of idiots or something. And then she was in New York and met all kinds of Americans, and really changed her mind. So I can only imagine what people must think.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. It's very. It was. I like the day after the election, I had to teach a class. I teach math, and I came to my classroom, and all my students, they realized that day I'm not to be messed with. It was a weird dynamic.
Right.
People were gloomy, and I wasn't in the best mood that day. But then I became more disappointed after I realized that a good number of the students, these are 18-year-old, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21, 22. A good number of them voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I was very, I don't know. I'm boldly saying that I was very disappointed. I don't know. I don't know how.
Yeah.
It was.
Sure.
It took me a while to reset myself and become that objective person, that very, very looking at them as these are people that I have to still protect in every way. These are people that I still have to lead and show them the right way. But I was just disappointed for a while, for like a week, and then I had to reset myself. Yeah.
Well, and I think that, we have to live our lives in a way that demonstrates to people who might disagree with our political ideas or our social progressiveness or whatever.
Yeah.
We have to set an example that our way of thinking is okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Come be nice to the rest of the world with us. You know what I mean? Think about, like, it's not about closing the borders, you know, and it's not about trying to make the rich richer or whatever. You know, we need to create a world that's more sustainable and where we can interact with people who are different than us.
Yeah, even though these issues have their extremes, but you can still be on those extremes. If you want to be at the extreme right, you can still be there and not tear down the country. Which is, so my problem with Trump is that he's not even the conservatism. He's not even practicing the conservatism that we know in this country. He's just doing things. He's just there for himself. Each day he wakes up, he wants to fight.
Right. Yeah. There was never a moment.
Yeah. So
where there was never a moment where I ever had any respect for him as a person. You know, I hate, you know, like, that's just the truth. And I have so much more respect for people who, like, as individuals, people who I've known for a long time that ended up voting for him. I have way more respect for them, but I do sometimes have to question their reasoning, you know, like,
I don't know.
but at the end of the day, man, I mean, they're living in this world too.
Yeah,
you know, they have to lie to themselves to pretend like this is going well.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's go back to your music.
Sure.
Having spoken to you now, having had a little chat with you, I've understood more about the album, and it's not a piece of work that you can just put in there and groove to,
right?
You know? So at the same time, it's very consumable. But do you think, when I say consume, I mean easy to consume? That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, no. I didn't make it super dense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So the point, my problem, my question is this: is there a prescription or is there a guide on how to listen to this album, since is tackling a specific topic?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so music for me, or art in general, like I said earlier, it's important to create something that inspires empathy. Yeah, but it's also the idea is just to get an emotional response from your listener. Nice. And I try to tell people, because I talk to friends and family who don't understand this music. I've talked to people who they have a hard time hearing melody in some of the songs that I've written that are very, very melodic, you know, and it's very triad sort of, you know, much more diatonic sort of sound. So they without lyrics or whatever, they have a hard time hearing melody, I guess. But I tell them to just, you know, try to picture the vibe, or like the feeling that you get when you hear music, when you hear certain sounds, and or pay attention to what you like, the music that's playing behind a scene in a movie. What does that sound like, and how's it affecting your feelings? You know, and when the more you start to connect sound with feeling and or ideas, the more I think it makes this music a little bit easier to understand, because it's not, that's the thing, it's not, it's really simple, it's not complicated. There is no hidden message. There's you listen to it however you want, you know what I mean? And
you can also tell them to go watch the videos.
So that's the thing. Yeah, I thought because these are kind of like these pieces are kind of like soundtracks.
Yeah.
That we should create some videos that go with it. And I thought, well, the videos ought to be abstract too. So I had this idea. I played music in an abstract way for the idea, and then I had somebody abstract it a step further and do something in a video that
the videos are nice, I must say. Yeah, the music is great. The videos are nice. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about your music career. You're on the recording label now, Destiny Records.
Yeah, I sort of manage Destiny Records.
Okay, so you are the guy to be asking questions.
Yeah.
So I've listened to a bunch of artists from Destiny's record. When I met Michael Eaton, I listened to his work. He's under Destiny, and I went on the website and I listened to a few artists too. Then I've had Charlie Rao on, and he's with Destiny too. Is there a specific kind of artist you guys adopt?
Well, the Destiny Records was started by my friends Mike and George, who I knew from college. Okay. And Mike wanted to start a business, so he decided to start a jazz record label. And I was like, if you're going to start a business, there's about 1 million better businesses to start than a jazz record label, but
in terms of
making money, but he was more interested in just making art.
Is he a musician?
He's a musician too. So he's a musician too. I'll have to run down to the car in a second here.
Okay,
but
we can pause it.
Yeah, let me finish this thought. So Mike and George were both musicians as well. And the idea behind Destiny was originally just to record artists with, capture them in George is an amazing recording engineer. And so to have him record them in a way that will sound really fantastic. But then we have to be able to do something with these albums. So I've got experience in the record label business side of things. And so Mike asked me to help out, hired me, to do this stuff. And the artists really have come, it's been very organic in terms of who we work with.
Okay.
The thing that's important is to have somebody who's working really hard on their own, because a record label, especially one like Destiny, we try to be part of your team. We record an album with you. We distribute it and market it and all those kinds of things. I know designers, and we can help make the product be as good as possible. But if you're not booking gigs, and if you're not, like, you have to have some sort of internet presence, and all of that helps.
Yep.
We're just helping to create this thing that you probably couldn't afford to do on your own. But honestly, pretty much everything we do, an artist could do on their own or coordinate on their own with some experience.
Yeah.
I just have enough experience that I've done this so many times that I've got relationships and experience working in certain angles.
Is there a particular sound you guys look for?
Oh no, we're all over the place. Like,
really?
Yeah, like Charlie's record is a very it's almost like chamber music in a way. We've got free jazz stuff on there. We've got stuff that's very straight ahead.
Would you take world music and R&B and rock?
Yeah, we could. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's some stuff that's going to come out later that's pretty much, it's like 70s Miles sort of vibe, kind of rock groove stuff. But no, it's mostly doesn't make sense at the time, because people are always talking to us about, I get emails every week
Mm-hmm.
from somebody interested, like, hey, I want to release my album with you. But it's all about timing for us, because we only do a few releases a year. And it's we look way in advance. The albums that are coming out this year were recorded in 2016. You know, it just takes a while to get things done because we have to do it. We want it to be done well. And then we also are trying to do it within a reasonable budget. Stuff still is expensive, but
do you have 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think we can do 5 minutes.
Okay. So you're from St. Louis.
Yes.
All right. When did you start doing music? When did you start playing music?
I started playing when I was, I started taking guitar when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
Prior to that, I used to dance. My mom was a dance teacher. And so at a very young age, I was in tap classes, you know, or whatever. I was around music, and I can't remember a time. So I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
But I have been around music for as long as I can remember, because my mom was a dance teacher.
Okay.
And when I was 3 years old, I was in dance classes. So I can't remember a time that I didn't understand how to count music, you know. But I didn't really start getting into jazz until I was maybe 14 years old when I started to understand. I mean, you don't have really a taste in music when you're eight years old. You know, you just play whatever they tell you to play. So when you go through in school and junior high and high school, you and your friend group starts to, you know, so for me it was Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Metallica and whatever. But then I, after a few years, got into jazz and started to focus on that more in high school. Did
you go to college for music?
Yeah, I did. I went to University of North Texas.
Okay.
And Indiana University.
Oh, nice. And was this like in a conservatory?
University of North Texas, really both of them are I guess they're public schools. So they do all kinds of stuff, but they just have good music programs.
Oh, okay. Well, let's conclude with this a little game I make people play.
Perfect.
On this. It's called Turn Up or Mute.
Okay.
All right. I'll give you 2 options. You choose one, but they're usually tough choices, you know, so be careful, you know, but you have to choose one.
So I'm choosing mute or...
No. I'll give you 2 options. Okay. The one you choose, you say turn up, and we mute the other.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Solo performance, band performance.
Oh, man.
This is how you feel now. This could change when you leave here. All right?
Yeah, sure.
How are you feeling at this moment?
At this moment, solo performance.
Solo performance. Okay. Can you say 1 or 2 sentences about why solo performance?
You know, it's kind of more of a reflective. You can explore in any direction when you're by yourself, and sometimes that's just late at night. I'll feel like playing with people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Guitar, mandolin.
Guitar.
Okay.
Yeah. Why? I play mandolin very much as a secondary instrument, and I play bluegrass mandolin, and I love it. Okay. But the guitar is just I don't have to think when I'm playing guitar.
I see. Is the mandolin like a little bit more difficult to play?
It's tuned differently.
It's tuned differently.
Yeah.
So somebody who started with guitar has to learn to adapt to it.
Yeah, exactly. Your scales and chords, it's all a little bit different.
Yeah, okay. Finally, this one, you have to think harder. Or maybe you don't.
Okay.
A turning point, melting.
Melting.
Yeah,
I like melting.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cameron Mizell, thank you for coming.
Lorens, thanks for having me, man.
Nice. Great. Later.